Good morning, Cyberland. Bishop Rob Nichols coming to you from the offices of Church on the Rock, Abilene, 1228 Grape Street, Abilene, Texas, on the week of December 28th, 2015 through January 1st, 2016. My last video was entitled Moving Forward from Failure, and one of my viewers sent me an email stating that they would like more steps towards moving forward from failure, and so I decided to try to make a video that gave more direct steps in that regard, and so this is that offering. First, let's go to the scriptures and let's talk a little bit about moving forward from failure. First thing we have to do in order to move forward from failure is to come to terms with reality. And so here's what we want to say. Everybody is flawed. Everybody has sin in their lives. And there's not one single person in this world that is perfect. And so part of coming to terms with reality is not justifying the failure. Now, the reason many people justify the failure is emotional reason. No one likes to be exposed, and everyone has issues. No one wants to be put in the spotlight when it comes to personal failure. But now let's look at Galatians 6, 1 through 5. But if a man is overtaken in a trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Okay, so what we want to do, one of the first things that we want to do when we're dealing with personal failure is realize that the point of dealing with personal failure is restoration. Let me say that again. The point of dealing with personal failure is restoration, not condemnation, but restoration. Okay. Secondly, the thing that we need that will help us move forward from failure is that we need to realize that everyone has sin. Okay? And so Hebrews 12, 1 and 2 reads like this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which so easily ensnares us. Now, the writer of Hebrews here gives us this concept that everybody has a weight or sin that so easily ensnares us. Now, there's a difference between a weight and a sin. And let me talk first about everybody has personal sin, like we said earlier. And so what we want to do is we want to deal with that sin. And the way that we want to deal with that sin is we want to take it to God. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is we want to deal with the impact of it, which means we might want to make an amends or whatever we need to do. I think I talked about that in the previous video. The third thing is we need to make a plan not to repeat that sin. And the fourth thing that I want to say here is that then we need to move on from the mental energy that we put towards that sin. Now here's a fifth thing, and that is if you are surrounded by people who won't let you move past the sin that you're dealing with, if they're all constantly bringing it up or reminding you of it, okay, then you need to separate yourself from those people. I can't stretch forward to become who God called me to be while I'm stuck in a mental trap of who I used to be. We talked about dealing with that last time, but now let's talk about a weight. Sometimes a weight is a thing that was said to us. Somebody said we weren't good enough to do something, or we felt not good enough to do something. We compared our gift to another thing. Maybe we have a fear. Do you ever have a fear that grips you? Whatever it is, maybe you're in your 50s and you still have a relationship with your children that is out of whack, or maybe there are some things that you need to really begin to come to grips with because it weighs it down. Because here's the thing that I wanted to say this week, and that is no matter where you are in the world as far as dealing with sin, let's go on to part 3 of Hebrews 12, 1 1, and that is, and let us run the race with endurance, the race that is set before us. Now listen, the first part of this verse dealt with the last part of 11, which is the hall of faith. It says, names all of these people who God considered to be faithful. The second part of this verse deals with sin and weight. And the third part of this verse confirms to us that even with the presence of sin, we still have a race to run. Let yourself think about that for a minute. So many times we're so familiar with our sin, we forget that there's a race to run. Here's another thing for you. Only you can run the race that God's put before you. Nobody can run the race God's calling you to run for you. Only you can run it. Only I can walk in my calling. Only you can walk in your calling. No one else can walk in the calling that God has placed on your life but you. And having this baggage or this backpack of burden doesn't help you focus on the race ahead. And here's what the scripture in Hebrews chapter 12 teaches us to do. Chapter 12 and verse 2, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for great joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of God the Father. Who's the author and finisher of your faith? Not the people around you, not the people whose opinions that you listen to. The author and the finisher of your faith is Jesus. The person that plotted out your path and your race was Jesus, the author and the finisher of your faith. And what did he do? He with joy endured the shame of the cross, that we might finish the path set before us. I want to encourage you today. Know as much about what has been set before you as what you've done behind you. Know as much about what God is calling you to do. Focus your mental energies on what you've agreed to do with and for the Lord, and allow His Spirit to empower you to do those things. Character changes when the surrender of the Spirit occurs. Character changes when the surrender of the Spirit occurs. And as we come to the end of 2015, and very soon we're going to engage in the beginning of 2016, let me just give you this word. God is not through with you yet, and you're not finished. Let the passion of His purpose in you really make a difference in your world. God bless you. I love you. I hope you have a great day.